They always said I was the strong one, but what does strong even mean if all it ever taught me was how to hold myself so I wouldn't fall apart? My name is Sarah Monroe, and I grew up in a quiet suburb just north of Seattle, where the rain fell more often than my mother ever hugged me. My father was an architect, the kind who'd sit by the window sketching in silence, while my mother carried herself like life was an audition she couldn't afford to fail. We weren't a family that yelled or hit. No, our weapons were quieter: polite neglect, cold silences, and expectations wrapped in tight smiles. I was the good kid. Straight A's, well-behaved, always in bed by 10. But the only reward I ever got was that one phrase that never left my ears: "Sarah's fine. She can handle herself." Then came Eli, my unexpected little brother, born when I was 12. Suddenly, all the spotlight shifted. Eli was delicate, sensitive, a walking excuse for everything I was no longer allowed to feel. Mom hovered over him. Dad called him our last hope. And I faded. From birthday parties, from dinner conversations, from the home I once thought was mine. So I turned inward. In that silence, I found art. Brushstrokes became my words. Every sketch, a sentence I never got to say. Under the yellow desk lamp in my room, I used to wonder, if I disappeared, would anyone even notice? My father passed away last year. They said it was a car accident, slippery road, stormy night. But deep down, something in me never fully believed it. Maybe it was the way Mom avoided my eyes at the funeral, or maybe it was the feeling that there were still questions buried beneath all that grief. Have you ever spent your whole life trying to earn your family's love, only to realize the more you gave, the less you were seen? What would you do if one day you woke up and realized you were just a background character in your own family's story? Let me know in the comments, or drop a like if you want to know what I found when I finally looked deeper. One night, while dusting off my father's old bookshelf, I stumbled upon a locked drawer I never noticed before. Inside was a worn folder filled with years of bank statements. Each one showed a quiet transfer of money, all going to a name I didn't recognize. Claire Dawson. I didn't know who she was, but I knew in that moment that my story had just cracked wide open. The name on the bank statements, Claire Dawson, haunted me for days. I stared at those transfers over and over. They started when I was 12, the same year Eli was born, and continued every month without fail until the year Dad died. Each amount the same. Not too large to raise suspicion, but not small enough to dismiss as charity. It was deliberate, planned, hidden in plain sight. At first, I thought she might have been a charity recipient, maybe someone Dad helped through hard times. But then I Googled her. Claire Dawson, age 55, lives in a small town near Portland, Oregon. No social media, no business listings, no thank you posts or donations in his name. Just a simple woman with an ordinary house and a son, a boy named Marcus. The moment I saw the photo, Marcus in front of a small white house, holding what looked like a high school diploma, I felt something collapse inside me. He looked familiar. Not exactly like Eli, but close, too close. I printed the photo, folded it carefully, and tucked it into my sketchbook. I didn't know what I was doing yet. I just knew I had to know more. And if I was wrong, then I'd be the crazy daughter poking into ghosts that should stay buried. But if I was right, then nothing I believed about my family was real. I waited until Sunday dinner to bring it up, Mom, Eli, and I sitting around a table that felt colder than usual. "Did Dad ever mention someone named Claire Dawson?" I asked it casually, like I wasn't holding my breath. Mom's spoon paused midair. Eli didn't look up from his phone, and then Mom said too quickly, "No, why?" I watched her eyes, the slight flicker, the half-second delay. Just came across the name going through Dad's files. I lied. I didn't want her to know what I already knew. After that dinner, I couldn't unsee it. The flicker in Mom's eyes, the fake calm in her voice. She was hiding something, and if she was willing to lie, then what else had she been lying about? That night, I texted Eli. Hey, do you remember anyone named Claire Dawson? He left me on read. The next morning, he sent, No idea who that is. Why? It was a typical Eli answer, short, avoidant, careful. But I noticed something odd. He deleted the message thread a few minutes later. I only knew because I tried to respond and the conversation had vanished. Something wasn't right. I called Rachel, my childhood best friend, who also happened to work at the King County Records Office. Can you pull a birth certificate for me? Yours? She asked. No, Eli's. Silence. Sarah, are you okay? I'm not sure. She agreed reluctantly and told me she'd call if she found anything. 3 days later, she called, her voice tight, hesitant. You're not going to like this. Tell me anyway. There's no father listed on Eli's certificate, just your mom. No hospital record tied to her pregnancy, nothing. I stopped breathing for a second. That's not possible. I remember when she was pregnant. I was 12. Then something was staged, she said softly, because the file was created after Eli turned 1. It's been patched together. Patched, like our family. I stared at the walls of my apartment that night, walls filled with paintings I'd made to escape this exact emptiness. Every birthday, every holiday, every moment I tried to be enough for my mother, while Eli was showered with attention. And now I had to ask myself the unthinkable. Who is Eli? I printed out the birth certificate. On the bottom, faint but still visible, was the signature of a name I had seen before, Claire Dawson. I drove to Portland the next morning. I didn't call. I didn't knock at first. I just stood outside the small white house and stared at the boy on the porch, Marcus. His smile was shy. His eyes were kind. And in his features I saw it again. Not just Eli, me. I knocked. The door opened, and the woman behind it whispered, Sarah? Like she'd been waiting for me. 3 people. 2 stories. 1 lie that held us all together. If you were in my shoes, would you walk away, or would you open the door to a truth that could shatter everything you thought was real? Sarah, Claire said again, quieter this time, as if saying my name too loud might break something fragile between us. I stood there frozen. I had imagined this moment dozens of times, rehearsed all the questions I wanted to scream, all the anger I was sure I'd unleash. But now, standing face to face with her, I couldn't say anything, because she didn't look like a secret. She looked like someone who'd been hurt too. She opened the door wider. I figured one day you'd come. I stepped inside. The house was modest, warm, lived in. There were framed photos on the mantel. Claire, a boy I assumed was Marcus, and a man, my father. I stopped breathing. So it's true, I whispered. He loved you. Claire nodded, eyes glistening. And he loved you. He talked about you all the time, Sarah. He kept your drawings in a box, said you were brilliant. I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. That's funny, because all I ever heard growing up was, don't bother your brother, or Sarah's fine, she doesn't need help. Your mom, Claire started, but I cut her off. No, I want the truth, all of it. Eli, is he your son? Silence. She nodded. He's mine, and your father's. I gave birth to him, but I wasn't stable then. I had postpartum. Your father said your mom would help until I recovered, just for a year, but when I came back, she refused to give him back. She had already claimed him. The room spun. Everything I knew about my family, my place, my pain, suddenly had a different shape, a cruel symmetry. I was pushed aside to make room for a child my mother stole. She forged documents, Claire continued. Your dad wanted to fix it, but she threatened him, said she'd ruin him. He kept sending money to support me. Out of guilt, out of love. I felt like throwing up. So Eli, he's not even my brother. No, Sarah, he's your half-brother. You share the same father. I sat down, numb, and then Claire said the one thing that broke me completely. Your father, the day he died, he was driving to see me. He said he was finally ready to tell you everything, to make things right. He never made it. He died trying to give me the truth, and my mother made sure I never got it. I drove back to Seattle in silence. No music, no calls, just the sound of my own breath and the echo of Claire's voice repeating in my head. She refused to give him back. He died trying to tell you the truth. My mother didn't just lie. She rewrote reality and handed it to me as love. She took a child that wasn't hers and buried me beside the secret. The moment I stepped into her house, the air shifted. Mom was at the kitchen counter, slicing strawberries like it was any other Sunday. "Sarah, you're early. He was on his way to Claire when he died, wasn't he?" She stopped. The knife slipped, grazing her finger. Blood welled at the tip, but she didn't flinch. "Where did you hear that name?" I walked closer, pulled the folded photo of Marcus and the bank statements from my bag, and laid them on the table between us. "From the woman whose child you stole." Her face went pale. Then, like flipping a switch, her expression hardened. "I gave him a life she couldn't. That child would have ended up in foster care. I did what needed to be done." "You did what served you, Mother." "I protected this family." "You destroyed it." Eli walked in just then, earbuds still dangling. "What's going on?" I turned to him slowly. "You're not who you think you are." He blinked, confused. "Claire Dawson is your mother, not mine. And Dad? He was your father, too. You're my half-brother, Eli." "That's not—" "What are you talking about?" I slid the documents toward him. He stared, reading without really seeing. His hands shook. "Mom?" "Don't listen to her," she snapped. "Mama, she's trying to tear us apart." "No," I cut in, voice razor sharp. "You already did that when you decided I didn't matter anymore. When you erased my place in this house for someone else's child and called it duty." Eli looked between us, shattered. "You said Dad left me." "You said he didn't care." "He did," I said, eyes burning. "He tried to fix it." She stopped him. My mother backed into the counter like she'd been slapped. "You're ungrateful, Sarah." "No," I said calmly. "I'm finally done being grateful for being forgotten. 2 children raised under one roof. Only one was allowed to matter. And now everything she buried was rising back up. And this time I wouldn't let her silence it again." I didn't cry, not when Mom called me ungrateful, not when Eli stormed out of the house, his world crumbling under truths he never asked for, and not when I stood alone in the living room, my childhood home, feeling like a stranger among ghosts. I thought that was the worst of it, until the letter came. It arrived 3 days later in a plain white envelope. No return address. Inside, a single handwritten page in my father's handwriting. Faded, shaky, but unmistakable. It began, "To Sarah, if you're reading this, then I didn't make it in time." I sat down, my legs too weak to hold the weight of the words. "I tried to protect you the only way I knew how. But I failed you, and I'm sorry. I let your mother make choices I didn't have the courage to stop. Eli is your brother, your half-brother. I loved him, but I never meant for you to be pushed aside. You were always my first masterpiece, Sarah. The day you were born, I sketched your face 5 times before I got it right." It's still in my studio, hidden behind the bookshelf. That was my way of saying, I saw you. I always saw you. I broke. Not just tears, sobs, ugly, gasping, years worth of holding it in kind of crying, because all this time I thought I was invisible, forgotten, a background character in someone else's story, but I was wrong. I was the one he drew first. I drove straight to his old studio, now locked and collecting dust in the backyard. Behind the bookshelf, just like he said, taped to the wall, was the sketch. Me, age 5, laughing, eyes wide, hair wild. The caption underneath, "Sarah, the one who sees what others miss." And taped to the back of the frame was a deed, transferring ownership of the house to me, signed, dated, witnessed, 2 weeks before his death. My mother never mentioned it. Of course she didn't. That was the final twist. This house, the one she ruled like a queen, the one she tried to erase me from, was never hers. It was mine, always had been. She just thought I'd never dig deep enough to find the key. You thought I was the background mom, I whispered into the empty room. But turns out, I've been the foundation all along. I didn't tell my mother right away. No confrontation, no big announcement. I just changed the locks. 3 days later, she came home from one of her charity luncheons to find her key didn't fit. She called, then banged on the door. I opened it slowly, calmly, holding the deed in one hand, the sketch of me in the other. "What is this, Sarah? Some childish game?" "It's not a game. It's proof. Dad left the house to me. He signed it, witnessed, legal." Her mouth opened, then closed. For once, she had no words. "You took a child from another woman, pushed me out of my own family, and told yourself you were doing it all for love. But you never loved me. You tolerated me." "That's not true." "Then why didn't you tell me the truth?" Her eyes flickered. "Because you were strong. You didn't need the drama. I couldn't risk losing Eli, too." "So you sacrificed me instead." She sat down, quiet for once. "You always had so much of your father in you," she whispered. "I couldn't control you, and that scared me." I nodded slowly. "Well, now I have him back. In this house, in that sketch, in the truth you tried to bury." She stood, rigid and brittle. "Where will I go?" "Claire offered you a place," I said. "She told me she's willing to let you stay, for Eli's sake, but not here." Her jaw clenched. "This house is my life." "No, this house was your stage." "And the show's over?" I handed her a printed letter from my lawyer confirming the transfer. The legal weight of it made her tremble. As she packed her things in quiet disbelief, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear, not vengeful, not victorious, just clean for the first time in years. Eli came the next day. He stood at the door like a boy who had just discovered the world he lived in was built on lies. "She's gone," I said softly. "I know." He looked down. "Claire reached out. I'm going to see her." "You should." He hesitated. "You still want me in your life?" I didn't answer right away. "If you come back as Eli, the real one, not the version Mom created, then yes." He nodded, tears in his eyes. I watched from the window as they both left, Mom in a silent car, Eli driving himself to a truth he should have had years ago. And me? I stayed, in my house, on my terms. No more pretending. It's been 6 months. The house feels different now, lighter, like it finally exhaled after years of holding in someone else's secrets. I kept the sketch of me on the living room wall, right above the fireplace, where everyone can see it when they walk in, not to boast, but to remind myself I was never invisible. I was just waiting to be seen by the right eyes, including my own. I gutted the guest room, Mom's old room, painted it soft ochre, and turned it into a studio. Hung strings of warm lights, set up a canvas by the window where Dad used to sit. That's where I painted my first new piece in years. It wasn't of my mother, or Eli, or even myself. It was a house, not this house, but how it felt before the lies. Safe, quiet, full of morning light. The title? Home Rewritten. Eli and I talk, but on new terms. He visits Claire now, calls her Mom sometimes. Still awkward, but he's trying. I see the boy beneath the layers, the one who never asked to be born into a war he didn't start. We're not siblings the way we used to be, but maybe we're becoming family in a different way. 2 survivors building something real out of ruins. As for Mom, I haven't heard from her. Claire sends updates from time to time. She says she's quiet, withdrawn. Still insists she did what she had to do. That's fine. She can keep her reasons. I no longer need her validation to breathe. One morning, I opened the last letter Dad wrote, tucked between his old drafting books. Sarah, there will come a day when the truth hurts less than the lie. On that day, you'll finally be free. That day came, and it didn't feel like fireworks or revenge or applause. It felt like sunlight pouring through open windows. It felt like the silence in the house was no longer heavy. It felt peaceful, not because the past was erased, but because I stopped carrying its weight alone. Have you ever rebuilt yourself after being broken by the people who were supposed to protect you? What did freedom look like for you? Tell me below, and if you're still on your way there, keep going. You deserve to reach it too.